for you. Excellent. Okay, so yes, definitely. I use the console all the time to do a lot of different things, like, of course, like creating objects, um, doing config modifications on the fly, like retrieving values, and also the console has changed since last time we streamed, because now you actually can see the list of completions. Like, you see that all those options, every time I press tab, it's going to go to the next one. And there's also, like, for example, if I do command list commands, which will give me a big blob, I can actually scroll back now, and it will tell us how much I scrolled at the bottom right of the screen. So the console is more usable now. It can be scrolled using the keyboard or the mouse. So that's just tiny details, but makes it more useful. Things that has been changed also over the last couple of years, I don't remember last time you used it or not, that now, like, for example, if you go back in time and to a different entry that you previously typed, you can go back and edit, and it will insert text instead of just overriding the bottom, the back of it. So you can go back and add new things.
Yep, I remember that, yes.
So that's nice. And you can also press insert, and of course that's a breakpoint here. I don't want that. So insert, now you can see there's a hash sign instead of underscore, and the hash means that it's like overwrite cursor. So you can put it in insert or overwrite mode.
Oh, good, okay, so you can have both, alright.
Yes, it's just that I didn't have better characters than the hash to show that it was overwriting in the default font. The default font only has ASCII characters and not all of them, so I had to pick one that could be used to show that it was overwriting. So yeah, so those are just, there's no copy paste yet, but whenever we switch to GLFW3, they support clipboard in it, so we should be able to add copy and paste to the console and to the engine, more generally speaking. So that would be nice to be able to...
Also, okay, so we can grab something from a text editor and paste it straight into
Exactly, that would be nice.
fantastic.
And later on, when we have a working level editor, like we had Scrollhead back then, if we have a nice editor, we could be able to paste things inside the editor or copy them and get the config out, for example. Like, you select an object, you press copy, and then it will spit all the config as a text format, and that would be nice to export, import. So as soon as we have clipboard, we can start doing things like this. But for now, we don't. So yeah, definitely, I changed a lot of things. Yeah. No, go for it. No, I was just saying that, like... No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that, because I just lost the screen because my battery went flat, I'm just booting up again.
Okay.
Did you actually demonstrate in the console how, like, show a piece of config, and then show how you can pull a value out and how you can affect it in runtime?
No, I haven't. That was I was about to do it, like the FPS, for example, the display of the FPS.
Okay.
So it's definitely like it's the config entry is render show FPS. So you can get its status by typing get space render space show FPS. The config parameters, the section and the key have to be case sensitive. So you have to type render with uppercase R and show FPS with uppercase S, uppercase FPS. So it has to be case sensitive. But the commands themselves are case insensitive. So get, you can type get all lowercase, all uppercase, mix, doesn't matter. It's just the config parameters are case sensitive. So if I type get render show FPS, it will return true. It means that right now the display of the FPS is turned on. And if I want to turn it off, all I have to do is set render show FPS and either 0 or false, and it's gone. So, and you can modify any kind of config values that you have, like even, for example, I can, how I'm in release, let's start a debug build. Let's compile the debug. It's already compiled. Let's start the debug. Up here I'm in debug. How also you see that the console history is registered per executable. So if your executable has different name between the release and the debug, they will have different history as well. So like on my debug build.
And that history is stored next to the executable.
Exactly, it's a .cih for console. What's the I forgot. Interactive history, I think, something like this. And so here, for example, if I type set physics show debug and 1, and up, all the debug information of the physics are displayed on screen now. And again, I can just press up and change the 1 into 0, and it's gone. So that's very useful to change it on the fly when you want some information or not. Like the debug of the physics is one thing, but another thing that you can do is the profiler, for example. So you can type set render show profiler 1, and then the profiler display on screen.
Right.
Same thing, if I turn the profiler off, it's gone right away. And you can modify any values, like for example, yeah?
What about an alias? You know, so
Yes, there are aliases.
Yeah, so I think I remember those. Yeah.
Yes, there are aliases that I wanted to bring it. Next, there's a command that's called add alias, which there we go, add alias. You can actually add an alias to a different command, and you can give default parameters as well. So you can actually make an alias for a command plus default parameters. And alias can be aliasing other aliases as well. So you can have a cascade of different aliases with different default parameters. I will show you how it works. And when you do, when you want to list all the aliases, it will tell you all the aliases that are currently registered in Orcs, and they will tell you what they point to. So like for example, you don't have it on screen yet, but you will soon see it. We have an alias from the question mark. Question mark aliases the command.help. So if you type question mark instead of command.help, it's obviously faster and you can use it. And we can see that the keyword and, A-N-D, is an alias for another alias which is called logic and logic and itself is an alias for the command which is called command.and. So you can see that you can have different stages of aliases. And if you you can have aliases that point to command, to aliases, or that point to nothing. They will just say that they are unbound. So you can create aliases and you can remove the command behind. The aliases will still exist, it will just not do anything because it's unbound. So you can easily, yeah.
Create, would that be stored per game? So if you're working on one particular game and you create an alias, that would be not stored. That would be stored within your game. So
no, if you create the
another game would be different.
Well, if you create the alias inside the console, it will only be for that session. It will be like only for that session. However, you can define aliases in the config file, and those will be processed every time your config file will be loaded, and those will be available for your whole game, for example. So I think I have some example.
Right.
Well, we're going to make an example after that, one I often use for the profiler actually, because set render show profiler is pretty long to type, so usually I have an alias that I call P for profiler, and usually I put it in config. So after that I can just type P1 or P0 and it changes my profiler on and off. We're going to do that very soon. I wanted to point something else. I don't remember what it was exactly. It doesn't really matter. So you can have as many as aliases as you want, and there will be completion as well. So like here, for example, I have an alias that's called reload for config.reload, but if I type rel and type tap, it will complete to reload, because aliases and commands are part of the same completion mechanism. So the console will autocomplete both aliases and commands, even if they are added at runtime. So even if I add a new command or a new alias from the console, they will be part of the autocompletion as well. Another thing that's worth knowing is that the question mark, which is an alias for the command help, gives you the prototype of different command or aliases. Like for example, if I type question mark and why not question mark behind, it will call the command help on the question mark, and it will tell me that question mark is actually the command help, and it will return the string, and it will take an optional parameter string command by default, which is empty. But if you give it something, it will give you the help. Otherwise, it will tell you the usage of the command help. Let's see, like for example, if I look for get, it will tell me that get is actually config.get value, and it will take a mandatory section name, a mandatory key name, and then an optional index, which is -1, which means that it's going to be the default value. So if you have a list, it will take randomly inside. If you only have one value, it will take the index 0. And then you have a boolean that says if you want it in verbatim or not. Verbatim means that there won't be any processing. So for example, if you have like if you have a list, or if you have I can't find my words. A random, you know, like with a tilde, like you have a value, tilde, another value, a random value. Instead of giving you a value, it will give you the whole string, which is verbatim as it is. So you can retrieve different value like this. Like let's try get ball graphic, for example. That's ball graphic. No, that's not what I want. So ball graphic texture, maybe. That's the same. So spawner ball. Nope. I don't remember. Ball spawner, maybe. Yeah, I should go see the config. I don't remember what's inside there. Yeah, oh, there. It's ball spawner object. Get ball spawner object. So if I call this one, you'll see that I will get a random value because it's a list. There are 2 entries. So sometimes it will give me the first entry, sometimes it will return the second entry. If I call it with an index, I can actually ask for the index I want in the list. So 0 would be ball, 1 would be text. And if that was like a random, and if I ask it verbatim, it will give me the whole string with a tilde instead of the actual value. Let's try to get trail speed, bounce trail speed. So that's a random value. And if I get the value verbatim, it gives me the full formula, so that as it is entered inside the config file. So -1, -20, -50, tilde 20, -80. That's the actual verbatim value. But if I don't ask for it to be verbatim, it will actually evaluate it and give me the random value instead. What else can we do with that? So for example, earlier we were... Yeah?
I have a case that I wouldn't mind trying. I did notice, as part of recent work that I was doing, I wanted to, over time, increase the... it was in a spawner and the wave delay. So I wanted to decrease that value over time, and I noticed that that value didn't seem to change, didn't seem to affect the frequency of the wave spawning, and I discovered that I think what I had to do was actually to delete the spawner and then create a new one. So that might be a case where a particular value, while it may receive something with a set config, may not see the result.
Well,
Correct for spawners?
The thing is that the config value would be changed at runtime, but the spawner might not be reloading it all the time, because it's up to the code to actually fetch that value or not.